So my name is Alicia Heyman. I'm the director of Friends of the Eel River, and we're just really happy to be here today to continue facilitating discussions about the trail and hear from the community about your interests, your concerns, the opportunities you want to seek. Um, so I'm going to invite Perry Lincoln up here to help us open up. Perry is local to the area, and I'm sure that he has some wonderful sentiments to share with everyone.
Njong Djing, which means good day, beautiful day. Ashulye Perry, Shikinestet, Tai Chi Kea. And what I'm saying is, my name is Perry, I'm Kinestet, and my village is up like 20 miles up by Alder Point. Tai Chi Kea, it's called, which means red mixes with water people. And the village site here that we're in today, I'd like for everybody to acknowledge that we are in a village site that was really big with canoes. There was canoes being built. You can see the redwoods around us. So canoes were built here, and they were here to help people get from where they needed to go to when they were trading and moving around. So you have the South Fork here, and you have the main stem right there. So that's where we are here today. So this was a big busy area at one time, 160 years ago, and it's called Dong, which means coming together and flowing out. And then the river is called Hacho. The people that lived here, they're called Slolankok, which means many salmon people. So today we come here to talk about the trail, issues of the trail. We've been just getting our people together and wanting to talk about, amongst each other, amongst the Wailaki people, Kinestet people, about the trail and what it means to us. Back in 1914, they built a railway through the Eel River Canyon, and it went right over our village sites. We were taken away between 1851 and 1863, something like that. Taken away from our village sites, never allowed to come back again. And so we had to, live in different areas like Round Valley and Hoopaw and different areas that we were taken to. Some people were taken into slavery, and so many people, millions of people, were murdered right there on site. So for us, not being able to be into our village sites for that many years, and now that there's going to be a trail. In 1914, they built a railroad. Didn't ask anybody, permission or anything like that, and went right through our village sites and went right through places that we lived in. And if we were able to go back to those places, we would have. And even today, we were able to go back to those places and do the things that we feel that are important to the land, important to our people, important to who we are, take our youth there and do the things that we've always done for thousands of years. We would be doing that, but we still don't have that opportunity. And now that we hear about the trail coming along, it isn't that we're like totally against trails or totally against environmental stuff going on today, but we want to be able to have a seat, in a place where we can help with, redirecting, instead of going over our village sites all over again and desecrating. I mean, there's places where people, hundreds of people were buried, not even buried, they were just killed and left there. So when the railroad did come through, the bones were still sticking out of the ground, skulls and bones all over the place, and they just built the railroad right over top of it. And so today, is that what's going to happen? Are we going to be able to come in and clean and heal, or do whatever we need to do to help that to not be, are the bones still sticking out of the ground? I don't even know. Some people say they are. Some people say in 1970s, when they worked on the railroad, there was still human bones just poking up out of the ground all through there. And so I haven't seen it. I haven't been able, like I said, we haven't had an opportunity to be in our ancestral homelands all these years. So I can't really say, but I've heard from people that worked on the railroad that our bones are still poking up out of the ground. There's petroglyph rocks that are being desecrated. All of these things we should not forget and say, okay, this is land belonging to someone else now, belonging to America or United States or whatever, California. And now we can just do and forget about the native people, what their interest is, or, you know, it shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't be like that at all. It should be, okay, let's find the native people that are from there and let's get access back to that area and allow the native people to be and do what needs to be done, and then that information brought to the Great Redwood Trail people or whoever, the state or whoever, and talk about what we want rather than talk about this is a great thing for us, which, like I said in the beginning, I don't have anything against trails or recreation or anything like that, but when it comes to going right over our village sites where we haven't had that opportunity, and then we have to stand up and we have to say something about it, you know. And anyway, so that's my message today. We're reviving. I'm a director of a group called Native Health and Native Hands, and so what we're trying to do is we're coming back into our ancestral homelands, and we're working with people like Victor over here with the state park, Six Rivers National Forest, Bureau of Land Management, and large landowners to get land access back. So we're just like making our way back into our ancestral homelands to do, like I said earlier, the things that we need to do. We have certain things that we do and certain connections that we have that will never be severed. You know, the blood that ran through my ancestors, and it's only a couple generations back. You know, like my grandmother's grandmother went through that time of a change when there was first contact, as they say. You know, so that change was very, you know, I don't even talk about it because it was so bad. And all of you probably heard this and that about when people met with native people. You know, it was a gold rush time. It was a time of, you know, selling people into slavery. All of that stuff, I don't really care to talk about that because it's too stressful. And today, right now, is right now. If people want to know about that, sure, they can ask, and we'll tell you. All the native people know about, you know, what's happened to their people. And like I said, if you want to know, you know, we'll tell you. But as far as just standing here talking about a negative thing, I feel like it's time for us right now to talk about positive. Here we are right now. This is today, and we're still here. And like I was saying too, the blood that ran through my ancestors' veins runs through my veins right now. You know, and there's native people sitting over here. My grandson's over here. That same blood runs through his veins, and he's going to ask one day, "What are you doing for us, and how are you doing it?" And when we give this. Give something back to our people. I'm giving things back to my grandson and his sons. What am I going to give him? You know, am I going to say, well, I didn't really want to do anything, so I didn't, or am I going to, you know, try to do the right thing and make good relationships with non-native people and with our own people and revive culture for our people? So that's what our group is trying to do here in this area, and the area is pretty big, like from Highway 36 west or east, and then all the way down to Piercy east, all the way to like South Fork Trinity River, and then all the way to the ocean. It's a rectangle shape. That's our ancestral homeland. So all of these homelands we're trying to get back to and trying to do a lot of work with, like I was saying earlier, agencies, landowners. We don't have our own land, so we have to work with people. So that's kind of my how much? That's right. So anyway, you know, there's a lot to say, but basically, you know, the main message, and everybody has a little bit of to add to the message of being able to get back to our land, back to the land that our ancestors, you know, lived on for so many years, and being able to have a say-so about what we want and what we want to see and how we want to see things happen in the future, because the future for us is sitting right there, and you know, we have to plan, because we haven't had access. We have to plan something that's going to be solid with with the way things are right now, the modern technology or the Western technology, whatever we want to call it, we have to make sure that there's a solid foundation, and we're trying to build that foundation with Native people and non-Native people to really go forward with making good things happen for all of us, and I'm really glad to see all of you out here with an interest that that can help everybody, and not just one group or not just one idea, or not just let's just do something without, I said earlier too, without consulting people that still have an interest and still have connections to this land. So I could just keep saying that over and over, but the thing is, I better let somebody else talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. I've really learned a lot from you in the last few months that we've been meeting, and I just really appreciate how open-hearted you are and how generous you are with sharing knowledge. When I first started working with Friends of the Eel River a decade ago, the organization was already well into our long effort to protect the Eel River Canyon from this lawless railroad development. Many of you are familiar with the story. The Northwest Pacific Railroad was shut in the mid-90s after a series of landslides rendered the rail line unusable. It was once the most expensive line in the nation to maintain, and this geologically fragile region was simply never an appropriate place for such infrastructure. By about 2008, the North Coast Railroad Authority was a state agency tasked with managing the line. They were making plans to rebuild the line and fund it in part by greatly expanding a dormant gravel mine near Island Mountain. In 2011, Friends of the Eel River, like others before us, sued the agency for failing to conduct adequate environmental review. And ultimately, that case led all the way to the California Supreme Court, where in 2017, the justices ruled with us and declared that the agency did indeed have to follow California environmental law. When Senator McGuire introduced SB 1029 in, I think, 2019, it was the bill to close the NCRA and protect the right-of-way by rail banking it with the Surface Transportation Board. We thought the canyon would be safe from rail threats, but we had one more challenge ahead. When the rail banking process began in, I think, 2021, we learned that there were coal industry interests that were exploring their options to take over the line and use it to ship coal from the Powder River Basin across and up California to Humboldt Bay to export to foreign markets. I think it's sufficient to say that we were horrified. The kind of pollution that comes along with transporting coal is nothing that we want any part of. So thankfully, we were able to form a really diverse coalition called No Coal in Humboldt. We worked alongside Senator McGuire's office, the State Attorney General, the Transitional NCRA, and many, many others, and we were able to build a really strong resistance, and that takeover attempt was ultimately unsuccessful. It seems that positioning the trail as an alternative use for the right-of-way may have protected us from that threat of coal trains. So today, Friends of the Eel River is looking forward to using trail development as an opportunity to clean up the mess that the railroad left behind. Railroad debris litter the river and its banks. There's still barriers to fish passage that were put in place when the railroad was constructed. And of course, there's lingering toxic pollution from old mill sites and oiling stations and other infrastructure associated with the railroad. So the trail provides opportunities for addressing that list of things that are all high on our list of remediation priorities. But it also provides opportunities for improving access to the river, to cultural sites, and really just giving us the chance to lead the next generation to fall in love with this really spectacular landscape. But let's be real, there are a lot of challenges. This is a highly erosive landscape. It's going to present a lot of engineering challenges. The rugged wilderness makes access to emergency services difficult, and importantly, as Perry outlined for us, there are sacred and cultural sites that must be protected. So this is part of why we formed a coalition called the Great Redwood Trail Friends. Our coalition advocates for trail development that enhances environmental values, honors indigenous communities, provides safe alternative transportation, particularly in urban areas, and really just serves as a physical connection to the many communities along the 320-mile right-of-way. On the note of collaborative efforts, I'd like to invite Jason Lyles from Senator McGuire's office up to the podium. Jason, I've got a silly little gift for you.
That's so sweet.
I want to express some long overdue gratitude for the leadership role that you in particular have played, along with many people at Senator McGuire's office. You've really helped to protect the river, and that means a lot to me. You've been really supportive and encouraging. You were always available for advice and commiseration during the coal train fight.
Yes.
So I present you with this golden railroad spike.
Awesome.
A
Thank
small
you so
token of our
much.
gratitude.
It's amazing. See the spike? Great.
An actual spike.
Yes, this is an actual spike. Yes.
No commentary on how that was obtained from
No,
the
of course
from the
not. No,
railroad.
I won't ask any questions,
Yeah.
I promise. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is a pleasure. Very, very happy to receive this. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us all here today. I am just absolutely thrilled to be here and really appreciate and take to heart the previous speakers, and I'll address that here in a minute. But I definitely want to say a huge thank you to the Friends of the Eel River. I can honestly say without their incredible work and a lot of years of pain, with them making the case against the North Coast Railroad Authority, that we would not be here today. So all credit to the Friends of the Eel River. Thank you so much. Deeply appreciated for their work on this and on so many other issues throughout the North Coast and beyond. They've just been amazing partners and really appreciate working with them. I apologize that Senator McGuire couldn't be here today. He already had a commitment prior to this, and he tried hard to get out of it, but unfortunately he could not. Most of you know he is a passionate Great Redwood Trail advocate. This is something he's been working on for a long time and has been working tirelessly to get us to a place where we are to be here right now. Look, the Great Redwood Trail Agency has made remarkable progress from where we were a few years ago with NCRA. We have an excellent new board of directors from all over the North Coast. These folks are smart, experienced officials that live here and work for folks every day in their own communities. We have one of the best state agencies that you could possibly imagine in charge of the GRTA, the State Coastal Conservancy. When McGuire and I looked around to try to figure out who was going to be the overseer for the transition from trains to trails, the Coastal Conservancy stepped up, and we have just been so incredibly grateful for all of the work that they have put into this and the guidance that they've had. They're responsible for so many good things across California, and we're really lucky to have them. That's nice. Really lucky to have them. They're a phenomenal group of people that are just dedicated and really work hard, building trails, creating outdoor recreation, and so much more. And they have a lot of experience here on the North Coast. You'll see a pattern of everything that we've been trying to do over the years of the Great Redwood Trail is to not bring people in from Sacramento or Southern California or from anywhere else, but to have people that understand the challenges and the relationships and the work that has gone on in this area for a long time and not have to re-educate somebody. So we also, in that vein, we also have a world-class trail and transportation consulting firm, Alta Design, that has done a phenomenal job working on the master plan that I'll get to in a minute. They are no strangers to the North Coast. They have worked on numerous projects here over the years, live here, and really understand the variety of things that need to go into a master plan to work with the communities. And already, segments of the trail have already been built, starting in Marin County, Larkspur, San Rafael, all the way up into Petaluma, Santa Rosa, Ukiah, Willits, Fortuna, Eureka, and Arcata, and a lot more. The trail is being built right now, and it's phenomenally has been phenomenally successful and really gratifying to see how we can move from the troubles and the issues that we have had in the past to kind of moving forward to a new day. When we first started talking about this, I think it was 2018, maybe the legislation was 2019, there were a lot of people opposed to this project. One of the big things that they always said is, you will never get funding. This is a massive project. You will never get funding for it. This will never, ever work. I just want to show you how wrong those people are. Number one, the master planning process is fully funded. Number two, we have funding in place to run the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Number three, we've already allocated tens of millions of dollars for building construction of the trail that has either already happened or is going on right now. And there are hundreds of millions of dollars already appropriated at the state to help us complete the job. And just being blunt, now that Senator McGuire is the incoming president of the Senate, we'll be in an even better position to see this process through and make sure that it has the funding that it needs. Let's talk about the master plan for just a minute. GRTA and ALTA have spent the last year and a half conducting numerous public meetings, workshops, one-on-one meetings with folks all up and down the North Coast, talking about the trail, answering questions, addressing concerns, developing partnerships with local organizations. They'll be publishing the draft master plan for everybody to see later this year. Once it's out, the GRTA will do public presentations, review all the comments, answer questions, work hard to address any and all concerns, and then they will publish a final master plan that will be sometime in the spring. Louisa can correct me from our able staff if I get anything wrong here. The plan will map every inch of the GRTA portion of the trail, basically from Cloverdale all the way to Arcata, and will list prioritized segments of construction based on location, potential use, cost, type of trail to be built. Once the master plan is completed and published, we'll be able to move forward to begin designing and working with the communities to build even larger segments of the trail. And look, the first 7 people I talked to when I walked onto this beautiful bluff with the trail right behind us all had issues with the trail, all had concerns, all were very, very worried for either their livelihood or their living community or anything else that they had to worry about. I understand that. I've been working on this for 5 years, and I know people can be hesitant to it and even opposed to it. This is a massive and transformational project here on the North Coast, and that just does not happen very often, and it doesn't happen easily. To anybody that still has reservations or doubts or questions, I'm going to tell you this. The Great Redwood Trail Agency, their incredible staff, their locally based board members, Senator McGuire, myself, and our whole office staff are here to listen and work on any and all issues related to this trail. The very first thing Senator McGuire said about this trail when we got going was, we are not going to do it fast, but we are going to do it right. And that means working with anyone and everyone on their questions and concerns and always finding ways to improve the plans and using it as an excuse to right a lot of wrongs that have gone on for the last 120 years. This is truly a once-in-a-generational project, and we are dedicated to making it work for everyone. There's so many folks right here on this bluff and all over the North Coast that inspired Senator McGuire and the rest of the folks that have worked on this. I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce somebody who's always inspired me. My mother, Nisha Lyles. Come here, Nisha. Come here, Mom. Come on.
I'm only this close so I can hear you, you know.
It's okay. I'm not going to get too sappy because I'll cry. But suffice it to say that she overcame a lot of very, very long odds to be such an amazing mother and role model. She grew up near Ukiah and has lived along this rail line her entire life, including where she is now at the tip of she's just like a 5-minute stroll down the hill at the tip of the Great Redwood Trail in Arcata. I know it's not always appropriate to tell a person's age, but frankly, she didn't raise me to be always appropriate. So she's 85 years old. She walks, it's amazing. She walks miles and miles every day on or near the trail and getting ready to walk the whole thing. She tells me we need to hurry, but she's in such amazing shape that I think we've got a little time. I'd let her say a few words, but she'd probably lecture you on how to be a vegan, so we'll just step over here. I love you, Mom. Thank you. I'll wrap up just by saying thank you to everybody here. Yes, please take that. She keeps all my keepsakes, so thank you. For the incredible work, thank you, and I will very much look forward to working with all of you today and in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Always great to have a wonderful mother around. Next, I'd like to invite Nicole up to the podium. Nicole is both a tribal member and at the Round Valley Indian Tribes, and she's also here representing Save California Salmon. So please help me welcome Nicole.
Hey Tanani, Sintama, Heo Heo. My name is Nicole Whipple and I'm a member of the Round Valley Indian Tribes. I'm also here representing Save California Salmon as an intern. I am the regional person for Southern Humboldt, Mendocino County, and Lake and Sonoma. And I had a hard time deciding on what I wanted to speak about today because every day I am a Round Valley Indian Tribes member first. I'm a Yuki descendant and a descendant of, when I shared my greeting, that comes from the Maidu Konkau, Northern Pomo, as well as the Yuki. And that's just the way that our family rolls. We have a very mixed combination of many tribes in our home. And I am very honored to be part of a Yuki descendants whose territories are connected to the Eel River very deeply all the way up here. We have Yuki descendants all the way from the valley, from the mountain ranges, just east of our valley all the way to the coastline. And so when things like the Great Redwood Trail come about in our ancestral territories, it means a lot to me. And so, it was difficult for me to write something because I am wearing two hats. I am here also representing Save California Salmon, and, I can't speak on behalf of them and their position. But they are very encouraging and opened up many doors for me, allowing me to have the time to speak to Mr. McGuire in person and get to share with him my concerns about the trail. Working with, and thank you to Friends of the Eel River. Again, Save California Salmon opened many doors for me. And they also introduced me to Power and Nature Coalition, our Eel River Coalition and group, the Friends of the Great Redwood Trail. And the very first thing, in the very first meeting, when I walked in, I had to be transparent and let everybody know, like, hey, you're stepping on our territory, and nobody has approached us, nobody's asked us, nobody has acknowledged the fact that you're on sacred sites. And I just could not grasp, today, I cannot grasp the idea of, my decision to go in environmental policy came from sitting in my own tribal council meetings where our fisheries department is working with Cal Trout to support the restoration of our salmon in our water. And that led me, all their knowledge, all of their hard work, learning about all the projects on the eel were the reason why I decided to focus on environmental policy. So when I found out about this Great Redwood Trail, it just, to this day, it baffles me how we can work so diligently to save our salmon, and then the Redwood Trail on our river, on our road into the reservation, is from here to there, to this sign here. And so it bothers me. I have major concerns about how building on a railroad or moving a railroad is going to impede on all of the focus and all of the funding allocated for the restoration of our fish. It feels like a backward step. So I am here, asking for the acknowledgement of our Wailaki sites and lands that we're here today on Wailaki territory, and we don't get all of that acknowledgement, or I don't think a lot of times we don't recognize that when these projects come in, legally we are the ones to be consulted first, and we aren't. I'm not opposed to the trail, but I don't want to see it on our river. and that's where the railroad is. Those railroads were, I've heard a little bit of, Perry told a little bit about the history of these trails, the assimilation, the stolen public lands. Every time I hear public lands, it's like a stab in my heart, because it's, again, the reason why we have these public lands are because they were stolen from the tribes. And today, I'm again blessed to have many doors open, and I'm very proud to hear our agencies speak at the recent Tribal Water Summit say, hey, I apologize because I know that there is no single amount of money that we can pay the tribes for what we've done wrong. So the state recognizes and acknowledges that already, but I think the state also needs to consider that, just because you allocate funds to throw down a tourist attraction doesn't mean that the sacred sites and the lands and the original people are not here. So I'm just asking that, in consideration of our tribal people, that we consider giving the land back in our area. I can't speak on behalf of the other tribes, but I know, speaking with my relatives and our Wailaki and our Yuki people, that our territories, our river that we're protecting, we would like to see the trail be based on our tribal people, our history, see it moved away from our river instead of alongside of it, where every day I travel in and out of Round Valley and Caltrans can't keep up with the road already, where it's constantly washing out because they've already tried to create roadways over top of riverways. And now the idea of building alongside of our river, impeding what we've been trying to do in our restoration, is just, inconsiderable for me. And thankfully, we have just recently been acknowledged with AB 1936, the renaming of the Hastings College, to acknowledge our Yuki genocide. I would like to see, the idea behind that law is to provide reparation and repatriation to our Yuki territories and sites. I would like to see that acknowledged in the process of this trail when, building again on Yuki territories and sites, as well as, the Wailaki people, the Yuki and the Wailaki tribes. They are only federally recognized by Round Valley Indian tribes. So, I'm here asking that we are consulted, that we are included, that this trail represents us before tourism. And I've shared this with McGuire personally, and he was a little set back, but he was like, okay, I hear you, so thank you for being here. But I just wanted to put that out there, that I know there might be this I got this call. I got this call last night that says, hey, so I heard you got all the white conservatives scared. And I was like, wait, what? What did I do? I just came back from Boston for Air Winergy conference, and I was over there getting strange looks because I had, all my abalone, and I'm a dark Native person, and asking questions. So I was like, great. I'm thinking it was somewhere else. But he says, no. The Great Redwood Trail and the community are concerned that you're going to stop the trail, and that's not my intention. But, I mean, realistically, I think, to be blunt, it wouldn't be hard, I don't believe. I can see, I can see without without consultation and tribal engagement, I definitely can see between all of these acts of conservancy in our waters, our lands, and clean energy. If this continues to happen without the consults, we will see Standing Rock in California. And we had, I don't think we need to go there. I pray that we don't have to. I was in Boston last week and they were asking me, they were telling me, you need to go speak to your officials soon. Make sure that they know what you want from in your community plans and agreements. And I told them, we don't have a problem speaking to our officials at the state. I can contact 4 off the top of my are at the top of my phone or email lists, and I know that I can get a response today. So I don't see that as a problem to have the consultations and the talks. As a tribal person, I feel that way, and I hope that the state and our McGuire's office feel the same way, because we don't need it to go that far. But I mean, it's just, again, to be blunt, it can happen. It can stop. We can, if we don't get proper consultation and engagement. So that being said, those are my personal comments as a Round Valley Indian Tribal member and a member of the UP descendants, and as well as a descendant of the tribes who were forced relocated into Round Valley. We are constantly in a battle and a fight for all of our resources and access and acknowledgement. And so I just wanted to share that today. Not here to stop the process. Sorry for scaring you, Alicia. But I am here to ask for proper acknowledgement and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I just want to say I really appreciate the courage that it takes to speak the unpopular truth, and I think it's really important for all of us to hear that. So I appreciate that you are always standing up and sharing that. Next up, we are going to hear from Katie Whiteside from Keat TV. You all may not know this, but this event today was actually put on by a grant that Keat secured. So I will let her tell you more about that.
Thank you. We did get a grant. And the grant is the Wild Hope Grant. It has to do with a TV series, 8-part series of half-hour shows, which you can watch now online, called Wild Hope. I think you can go to wildhope.tv or go to keattv.org to watch it. As part of this grant, stations across the country who applied were supposed to find conservation groups who work the same way that Wild Hope, the show, is. So bringing in and talking about what different groups are doing across the country to save Earth or bring it back to life. So I applied and asked for some help from my staff of who to talk to, because we have so many groups in our communities that could be part of this grant. And Alicia and Friends of the Eel River, I contacted her, and then somebody suggested the zoo, because we're supposed to attract at least 400 people to the activities that we're going to do, which are year-long, that we're doing them now in the fall, and it will continue into next year, into springtime. So I'm also working with the zoo in April. We've got an event there, and we've got a couple of other events we're going to do. But this grant is just amazing because it brings people together, and we get to give the money back to bring the community out to do things like this, events like this, and talk about the work that you're doing. So I encourage you to visit all of the booths and also to go to keat.org/events to see the other events that we have coming up. I'm hoping to use one of the films, which is, I think it's called The Big Oyster, to talk about the oyster farms in Arcata, or Humboldt County up in the Bay, and bring them to talk with us, show the film, talk about the work that they're doing versus what they're doing in the film or how it aligns with what they're doing in the film. And if you haven't seen Wild Hope, I highly recommend it. Again, they're half-hour shows. And if you have ideas of where maybe we should show these, please come contact me. We've got a table over here, the Keat TV table, and we've got pencils that grow. You need a pencil that grows. It really does. You stick it back. We haven't tried it yet in the office, but we want to. But that's about it. My speech is kind of short. Keat TV, we're trying to connect with the community, all the different communities. So feel free to come over and talk with us. We've got shows coming up, and you'll see them over at our table. And more to come with the Wild Hope Grant. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you, Katie, for making this happen today. We've got 2 more speakers. We're going to hear from the Trails folks next. So first up is Bruce Sylvie with Humboldt Trails Council.
Hi, the Humboldt Trails Council is got 2 major focuses. One is the most important probably for us is our volunteer trail stewards. Without trails, they wouldn't be being built if they didn't get maintained, and we have these over 200 active volunteers spread around the county, and they show up one Saturday a month and help maintain these trails and pull out invasive species, and some of them have been very involved in a trail for many years because they enjoy the work and the camaraderie. And so if you're interested and you'd like to look into that, you could look at humtrails.org. So the other part of what Humboldt Trails Council does is advocate for new trails and development to further the use of what we call active transportation and active recreation, which is the way that the country's moving, which is good, away from passive and just watching or writing. So, and I've ended up with the lead on the Great Redwood Trail project, and I think that's because my wife and I joined Rails to Trails Conservancy maybe 20 years ago, and we've ridden rail trails all around the country. And we like it because they're flat, because the engineering for trains has to be pretty flat, and we like the history and going through the tunnels and riding trestles like this, which is actually pretty exciting when the wind's blowing. So we've ridden trails with the grandkids that are a mile long up on Snoqualmie Pass or Lookout Pass up between Idaho and Montana. We've ridden the fall leaf trails in Vermont and New Hampshire, which are amazing and the best way to see the fall leaves because you're away from all the crowds. And the best thing about rail trails is that you go places that cars just don't go. So when we kept coming back for those 20 years to Humboldt County, we had dead tracks laying all around the bay and a bunch of us working on trying to get a trail in there, and nothing happened until Senator McGuire and Jason Lyles kicked in, and they took on the NCRA, and that's where everything started to change. So we've been working on that for 6 years, and we couldn't believe it. We thought 10 miles would be much more doable. It turns out that 300 miles was more doable than 10 miles around the bay. So, and we think this will be a tremendous opportunity to clean up the Eel River Canyon and connect communities that are, was always in the master plan for what's called HCOG, which is the coalition of the city and county governments in Humboldt, to connect, you know, Blue Lake and Arcata and Eureka and all the way down to Scotia and Rio Dell. And So this is going to make that possible. And I think our celebration today really is about rail banking, because without the rail bank, this would not be happening. There's over 1,000 different leases on this line, and if we had to negotiate each lease and go along, this trail would never happen. So when the railroads did their thing back in the day, they just punched through on eminent domain. They just were wherever they wanted to go. If there was another train 10 miles away doing the same thing, that was okay. Then maybe they could put them out of business. And so the train was just not developed like the highway system with any kind of logic. And it just plowed through people's property. And some people sold, and some people got leases where they had reversionary rights, meaning that if the train wasn't going to run anymore, they'd get their land back. So when the federal government agreed to rail bank this line, they essentially took on the task of compensating all of those people with reversionary claims, and basically, essentially making this a permanent access. So we don't know how that access will be in the future, but right now the interim trail process has been passed to the Great Redwood Trail Agency, which is doing a great job of trying to get this started and roll this along. So, and I think the scary point was that coal train, and many of you probably wrote letters and helped us, and there was a lot of brought to bear, and they finally did back off, thank heavens. They'd been turned down at 7 other ports all the way up the west coast, and I think Eureka was their last desperate attempt to pollute the Eel River Canyon with coal dust as well as Humboldt Bay, and it would have been a major disaster, including 200 car trains rumbling through Old Town of Eureka every day. So it was a close call, and it was necessary because in order for the NCRA to rail bank this line, or to apply to rail bank, they had to abandon it first, which made it vulnerable for a short while. So to me, that's the best celebration, and we appreciated everybody's help. And right now they're trying to work on the rail banking from Bullets down to Cloverdale, and then the smart commuter train is going to handle it rail with trail from Cloverdale all the way down to Larkspur to the ferry terminal. So probably not in my lifetime, but someday someone's going to be able to ride from the Eureka Bay, Humboldt Bay, all the way down to the San Francisco Bay and take the ferry across if they want. So anyway, it's a vision, it's big, and hopefully we'll do it right, and everyone will be part of those decisions, and they'll be comfortable with it. And yeah, I've been running a sheep ranch on the other side of Neyland for 40 years, and we have county road that crosses right through the middle of our ranch, and it's a little scary in the summer when it's really dry and you're afraid someone might come along and start a fire or do something. But 40 years we've only had one close call, so that's pretty good. And it can be done right, and I hope we can answer everyone's concerns and get something that looks like and works for people like the rail trails we've been riding all over the country. Because when you get close to town, they've got people out there with strollers and people just getting recreation, and when you get farther out, you're running into people that we meet from Europe, from all over the country that are there to ride those trails, and it's just a really great process. So whether you want to help advocate for more trails or you'd like to help maintain the ones we get, Humboldt Trails is a great place to start. Thank you for all coming.
Thank you, Bruce. I just want to mention too that Humboldt Trails Council has played a really significant role in helping us to protect public access. For example, at Fisher Road along Highway 36, and I think there's that's a big piece of this project too, is ensuring that people can get back to the lands that they were once on, or that the public can access special places like the river in an appropriate way. So finally, we're going to hear from Louisa Morris from the Great Redwood Trail Agency. Come on up, Louisa.
This is adjustable if you need to hold it closer.
Yeah, I do want to. All right. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Thank you so much to all of you for coming, and to all of the speakers, and especially to Alicia for kind of being the person who brought it all together. So I'm going to talk a little bit specifically about the Coastal Conservancy, which is the agency I work for. My name again is Louisa Morris, and I'm one of the 2 project managers working at the State Coastal Conservancy on the Great Redwood Trail project. My counties that I work in are actually Mendocino and Trinity, and Hannah Barty, my colleague, is responsible for Humboldt counties. So you guys will get, if you'd like to get to know Hannah, of course I'm happy to speak with you too, but she can't be here today. But that's our geography split. And so right now we're working on lots of things. It's something new every day, but we're working on, as you heard from Jason, the master plan for the Great Redwood Trail, which is it has kind of 2 parts to it. And the first part is just high level technical guidance on the trail and what it could look like and what it could be and how to approach it, what the priorities are, and that kind of a thing. And the second aspect of it is community engagement. And we really are trying hard to listen to the community with a particular focus on listening to tribes and reaching out to tribes, because we understand that these are ancestral lands for tribal people that this old rail line goes through, and that the Great Redwood Trail now will someday go through. And so we really need to work with these tribal peoples whose ancestral lands were taken from them to make sure that it's a partnership that works for everyone and is respectful of tribes. So I want to emphasize that. We also serve, Hannah and I, and our manager Karen Gear at the Coastal Conservancy, as staff to the Great Redwood Trail Agency, which only has 1 permanent staff person, and she's an administrative person. We are going to be hiring a general manager probably by the end of the year, but on a daily basis we deal with things like 10-foot wide, 80-foot long collapsed culverts down on McNabb Creek. We deal with vegetation management in the summer on over 200 miles of rail line, and the cleanup of the misuse that currently happens on sections of the old rail line. So we are very busy trying to maintain, and really don't have a big enough team to do it all, but we are small and mighty. So a little bit about the relationship between the agency I work for, the Coastal Conservancy, and the project. We are a funding agency, and we are about to take our first Great Redwood Trail construction project to our board for approval, and it's for the city of Willits to build a 1.6 mile segment of the Great Redwood Trail. So we are going to be funding the planning, design, construction, and perhaps more of the project itself. It's a legacy project. It's a transformational project, and change is always hard for all of us to accept. It's a multi-generation effort, and it's an opportunity for all of us who live in these communities to make it what we think it should be. So I really want this project to be, and the trail itself to be, homegrown and to grow out of what the people want in the community, because it's such a diverse land north of Sonoma and Marin County, and celebrating all the communities that the Great Redwood Trail will go through. And that means the communities that were here 200 years ago, the tribal communities, is really important, I believe, to its success. The project offers opportunities, job, economic development, and can really be locally grown. We do plan to do it right, and as Perry said, I too, and I think all of us on the team, want to make good things happen for all of us. So thanks so much for coming out today, and I'll be at that table right there if you would like to talk to me about your thoughts on the project or get my card or any of that. Thanks.
So I just want to say thanks again to everyone who's here today, particularly those who presented and shared their opinions. And you know, I think that we can do this project right. And I'm just really looking forward to working with all of you over the many years to come. And hopefully I'll see you all on the trail.